Hey everyone, I'm Steve from gamersnexus.net, and we are at GDC 2016 with Obsidian. I'm joined by Brian Hines. We're talking about Tyranny today, which is a new game coming out. And before we get into this content, all of our coverage from GDC 2016 is brought to you by Raw Fury. Brian, what can you tell me about Tyranny, other than, of course, the name sounds really promising?
So, I mean, Tyranny is always fun, of course. So Tyranny, we wanted to go with a different style of RPG that we've made in the past, and we really wanted to focus on story in a world where evil had won. So that's where the Tyranny is set. You are actually a character who is part of the army that conquered the world underneath the evil overlord, and your choices in the game affect how that develops further. Like, do you embrace the evil? Do you enjoy that experience, or do you try to maintain your own integrity and be a hero still in a world surrounded by evil people, which will be a challenge.
And it looked sort of like Pillars.
Yes, we're using the same engine as Pillars of Eternity. We took the foundation they created and we're building on top of it.
Very cool. So sort of similar RPG system and character building. What can you tell us about the character building so far?
So we have the same foundation as the Pillars, but we're using a classless RPG system that uses use-based skills. So as you get new equipment and abilities in the game, you build skills and become more powerful, gain levels with your party. But even more than that, when we're talking about our character creation, during the beginning of the game, I talked about the armies conquering the world. You actually shape the world through the character creation decisions you make. So each time you come back and create a new character, you get a different experience on the environment.
And we saw that reflected in the demo, where originally it helped a guy, and then later the name of the town actually changed. What can you kind of recap for the viewers of that scenario?
So there's an area in the world that used to be the fertile land, the breadbasket of the area, and powerful magic destroyed it during the conquest. And based on your choices, that's how powerful that magic was. So if you are more lenient, it remains its name as Plainsgate. And if you're more vindictive, like maybe me, you can actually destroy the land, and people call it Halfgate instead.
And one of the cool things we saw going back to Halfgate and getting into some combat, so two main points that I want to bring up here. Yep. One was, you were mentioning how in some games, if you avoid combat, you obviously don't really progress in those skills. So what are you doing to combat that here? So
we really want players to be able to play the game their way and make their choices. So during conversations, based on the skills you developed, you can actually use those skills to intimidate enemies or trick them with different skills to make them run away, or sometimes you can get one enemy to turn on the rest of his allies, so you get an advantage during combat. And when you do that, you still gain experience as though you had fought those enemies. So you don't lose out for making choices in conversations that allow you to avoid combat.
Right, and then the second thing was the Hadouken spell.
Yes. One of the things we're adding to Tyranny is the ability for the player to craft their own spells, and I mean, that's one example that that we showed you, but we'll be talking more about spell crafting later on as we get closer to release.
Cool, and that is new. That was not in Pillars, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's a brand new system we've added for Tyranny.
Very cool. What can you tell us about the world at a sort of top level? What is the planet we're on? What's going on in our surroundings?
So the world is known as Tyranny. It's basically started out various kingdoms and warring factions, and the evil overlord saw all this chaos and decided that the world would be better if everyone followed the law, his law. So basically gathered armies and marched across the world and conquered everything. And now the game is set in the last corner of the world that the conquering armies invaded. And just as the conquest is about to complete, something happens that you'll see when you play the game, and we'll talk about more.
In terms of the gameplay mechanics, for things we can discuss right now. So we saw 4 characters on screen when you were doing the demo. What else can you sort of tell us about the how people play the game?
So it's real-time with pause combat systems. You have all the tactical options that Pillars had. We focus on a 4-player party because it allows you to really focus on what your character is doing and focus on the high-level strategy. We add a lot of companion AI functionality so that you can either micromanage and control every single person's actions depending on how detailed you want to get, or you can really allow the AI to control your party members, your companions, and focus on controlling your character and using most of your skills effectively that you can.
What about a tentative launch date, anything like that? Is it this year?
2016 is what we're saying right now.
Okay, so 2016, that's sometime in the future.
Soon, yes.
Right, yes, soon. Hopefully before Half-Life 3. So thank you for watching. And
definitely before Half-Life 3.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. Check the link in the description below for full information for the article, all of that, and we will see you all next time.